Okay, so at this point, well, how would you are formally announced, you filed.
Yes.
So you are a candidate.
Yes.
What are you doing at this point? I mean, where's your candidacy at this point?
For the last 90 days, I've spent most of my time focused on raising money and speaking with specialists in the political field, both in Nevada and elsewhere in the country, about how to make a candidacy a really effective one. We raised we have $1.4 million in this quarter that will be in our filing in a couple of days. At the end of each quarter, you have to file with the FEC. More than $1.3 million of that is on hand and available. And as we look forward, we'll watch and see how this race evolves with others before diving in feet first. But it's certainly getting ahead of steam up.
Yeah, it's a crowded field at this point. You expect it to remain that way, or?
Well, all of these things tend to start with lots of people, and everyone tries to figure out whether they are. Whether they've got the resources necessary and the collection of people necessary. I think some people will stay on this very hard, and I think others may fall away. But I think it'll still be a competitive race all the way to June.
The danger, of course, is that you could exhaust each other during the primary and
sure
leave yourself maybe battered in the public eye, but maybe. Also, a little
less able to compete in the in the general
funds. Yeah.
I think the right thing to happen here is that folks who have the skills and the viability to be a competitive candidate will float to the top a little bit, and I think that those that don't will clear out. But sometimes primaries are a good thing, and I've said from the beginning that I'm interested in this only if I can really put together the right team and the right amount of money to really win.
You have some deep roots, especially in eastern Nevada.
I do.
The Chachas name is known out there in politics.
It's been a while.
But you've been out of the state. It makes you vulnerable to that carpetbagging tag.
Yeah, there will be people who criticize that. Look, I went away to college and built a 20-year career helping businesses across the country. But Nevada's home, and I'm ready to come home and do that. All you can do is try to speak to the people and hope that you resonate with the things that are on their mind, and I think I can do that well.
You think you're up on the Nevada issues? I mean, even though you've been spending most of your time in New York.
I do, and I more than that, I actually think that this race is going to end up being about a national economy issue as much as it is a local economy. The fact is that Nevada's economy is so tightly correlated to how the general consumer feels. If people aren't traveling, aren't going on a vacation, aren't going to a convention in Reno or Las Vegas's casinos or hotels or convention centers, it's going to be a tough road here. And so, yes, there are local issues which are very focused on just what's happening in Nevada, but more than anything, if you want to bring 13% unemployment down in Nevada, you're going to have a dialogue about the national policies and what Senator Reid and Mrs. Pelosi are focused on.
The other label that can be put on you, it seems like every time I see your name, I see Wall Street banker next to it. Some might think that that's not a great launching pad in this day and age and in this economy for a political career.
Yeah, I think that there'll be a lot of questions about what that experience brings. I have nothing that I am more proud of than the 25 years I've spent helping large companies, and I think my experience base will show very well in that regard. There are lots of excesses that have happened in the last decade, none at my firm and none with me. And but the focus has got to be how you take that experience with the national economy and companies, how they raise money, how capital flows, why we have a banking sector that's sitting on $800 billion worth of reserves rather than lending them, and how do we get consumers that are sitting underneath $15 trillion of household debt out from under that. I mean, those kinds of issues are really what are going to make the difference in the discussion about fixing the Nevada economy. And some of that I've gained, frankly, after 20 years in finance, and I think I can use it to my benefit.
We don't have the time here to go into detail on this, but, okay, what should Washington be doing about just those problems you mentioned?
Well, I think Washington is spending a lot of time right now thinking about big government as opposed to thinking about the consumer. We've seen a very aggressive effort by the government through its $780 billion stimulus package, through investments and bailouts in specific industries, and I think some of those things were probably at the time people felt that they were a good idea and necessary to shore up the financial system. We're now at a place where, more than anything, the focus has got to be on the consumer. This economy is a 70% consumer-driven economy, and unless the consumer feels like they're keeping more money in their pocket, helping them pay down their primary mortgage, their student loans, and their car loans. And we ought to be focused on policies, if we're going to run deficits, we ought to be focused on policies that are leaving more money with the consumer. It's a real concern to have a government where 40% of what we're spending this year is basically borrowed. We have a $3.7 trillion economy. We have a $1.6 trillion deficit. It's unprecedented in the country's history. And I think that we're running these deficits and not necessarily running them in a way that leaves more money with the consumer to get out from under this enormous household debt.
And the key seems to be consumer confidence. Until that's there, we can't say that we're recovering.
We really can. And ask yourself, I mean, in the families you know or the businesses you know, everybody I know believes that in 2009 they're tightening their belt, they're watching what they spend, they're feeling pressured to keep their spending under control. And you look at what happens with the 540 people that are in Washington spending your money. And the discretionary spending in the federal budget grew by 8% this year. I mean, there's this huge disconnect. One of the reasons Congress has 1 in 5 Americans thinks Congress is doing a good job, and there's a reason for it. I think the average American and the average company isn't conducting themselves that way and doesn't want their government to conduct itself that way.
Okay.